Hello and welcome to Rocked the Nation, counting down the 100 greatest moments in New Zealand music. Tonight on the program, a record that gobbed on Auckland, the secret of our unofficial national anthem, and a special performance of the most ethereal song in the land. I'm Karen Hay and we're counting down 100 of the most memorable moments in New Zealand music. The list was formulated on an Amstrad 464 and tabulated on an FX82 calculator, so rest assured it's 100% accurate. We start this episode at number 44 with a person whose work you've heard millions of times, but I bet you don't know a name.
Say what you're about to say.
Pam Shane might have a beautiful voice, but for now, she's not putting it to use.
I'm a very private person and I like my privacy, and I just don't think my personality could have dealt with all the crap that comes with being an artist. It's tough. It's really tough.
Instead, she used her talent to co-write the global hit Genie in a Bottle, the song that made Christina Aguilera.
We wrote a melody and lyric within, I don't know, 5-6 hours, and everyone was jumping up and down about it. But when you're that close to it, you don't know for sure whether it's going to be a hit or not. Within the week, we had 3 artists wanting the song.
And they chose Christina.
My dream came true at that moment, you know? It was like, you know, the world heard me for the first time, and it was amazing.
Pam Shane has only met Christina Aguilera twice.
Yeah, she was really friendly. She was like, oh, thank you for the song.
As well as the thanks, she also earned a healthy paycheck. Shane followed up with a song for Dream that went to number 2 in the United States.
It was quite a thrill the following year to have 2 big hits.
She's also written hits for Jessica Simpson, Billie Piper, and many others. The birth of our longest-running music magazine was perfectly timed to coincide with the birth of punk.
We had our own opinions as music fans, and we sort of wanted to foist on the world our view of the music scene.
The first issue came out in June of 1977 and featured music that wasn't being covered elsewhere, including punk and soul, a favourite of Kamak's.
A lot of people hated it because it was quite radical in its approach. It really sort of pushed the whole underground indie sort of thing, and you got a real backlash from the what we perceived as the old boys at that stage.
At the very start of Rip It Up, there just wasn't much music media in New Zealand. That's why Rip It Up got valued and embraced, because it was the only thing. You know, there wasn't a music channel, or there wasn't any other music magazines, and there wasn't much music coverage, full stop.
Radio with Pictures and Rip It Up were the only way music fans could find out about New Zealand music in an era where radio played less than 2% local content.
We couldn't have survived and done our record labels, and a lot of the bands couldn't have pulled crowds without Rip It Up.
The magazine is now beginning its 4th decade.
Murray should be given a knighthood or something, what he's done over the years.
It's an often repeated line that New Zealand buys more reggae per capita than any other country, and while this fact was probably made up by someone in Catch-A-Fire, we do seem to love our reggae. And at the top of the reggae pile, we find one man.
1979 saw the only visit of Bob Marley to Aotearoa.
I'd like to present you and the Wailers 4 gold albums, a gold here being the equivalent.
He was already hugely successful in New Zealand with gold and platinum sales, and the demand was high to see him in concert.
He's our Elvis, yeah. I think I was 14. I was growing up in a suburb in Napier called Narainui, which was that's where the mongrel mob started, right? So half the town was mongrel mobbed up. And I remember asking my mum, "Mum, can I go to Bob Marley?" And my mum said, "Bob Marley, what's that? Is that where all those mongrel mob are going?" And I said, yeah. And she goes, "Well, if they're all going there, then you're not." So, yeah, I stayed home that weekend.
The thing that I remember about it was all the gangs were there, all patched up, you know. The interesting thing was that there was no violence that day, you know.
Like a lot of Polynesian men hear the sentiment in Bob's lyrics, from albums of survival to confrontation. What Bob's saying in those songs, kind of you have to draw on a lot of the time if you're a Polynesian kid.
Bob Marley inspired others to start making their own music, including arguably New Zealand's greatest reggae band.
With him, that really struck me was I could reach out and touch him. He wasn't someone that was over there and we couldn't get to him. I put my hand out, he shook my hand. You know, I went to put my arm around him, he put his arm around me.
His legacy lives on in New Zealand with bands like Cora and Catchafire, who started life as a Marley tribute band and are named after one of his songs. Friday night, Auckland, late 70s. Not a happening place. Until the arrival of punk and the Sex Pistols. The Ramones inspired local 1ZM DJ Brian Staff.
Whereas somebody else might go 1, 2, 3, 4. The Ramones went 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 minutes later that was that. And it was brilliant, it was great. And you didn't have to worry about dancing, you could just energetically bounce out on the floor and keep bouncing, and you knew when to stop because the music did.
The big record companies weren't interested in recording those troublemaking punks, and so it was up to Staff, who found 6 bands he liked.
Give me 2 songs each, and we'll make an album. If it doesn't make any money, hey, I lose some dollars. If it does sell, all the money goes to making more records until we lose money.
The record AK-79 featured Tearaways, Toy Love, The Swingers, Proud Scum, Primmers, and The Scavengers.
Had a fanatical following. It still does. I mean, and as a snapshot of New Zealand music at the time, I don't think it's been bettered.
Though some felt it was a little too Auckland.
I'm not going to tell you it was a seminal album or anything. It's, you know, fuck that. And I'm not going to get involved with a bunch of Auckland wankers. They're all art school tossers.
Nevertheless, it is considered a stone-cold classic.
That whole thing was a clearly defined parcel of time that pretty much shaped New Zealand rock and roll to this day.
I like to stake my carrot into you.
And my favourite track on that album has got to be Proud Scum's I Am a Rabbit. I'd like to stick my carrot. Well, you guessed the rest. And Proud Scum was subsequently covered by the Lemonheads. In 1993, AK-79 was released on CD with 13 extra tracks from that early punk scene, including the addition of New Zealand's first punk recording, Megaton, by the Suburban Reptiles. After the break, nudity in public. It's the bad kind. And a record that was based on the true story of a Wellington band doing it all their own way.